Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Solomon sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, we shall start now, sir. Solomon sir.
Yes, sir. According to your convenience, I'm ready.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Maybe
sir.
you're waiting for other participants to come and join. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
it's up to you, sir.
Participants are
Whenever you
joining.
want to start, I'm ready, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Ashok?
Sir,
Yes, sir. Start it, sir.
shall I start, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Behalf of ICSSR, Department of Economic Studies, as well as Research Scholar Forum, I would like to welcome dear professors, speakers, and participants for 15th session of Capacity Building Program. I request Ms. Krupa to introduce today's speakers.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, one and all. It's my honor to introduce Dr. Solomon Benny, our second plenary speaker for today's workshop. Dr. Solomon Benny, serving as Assistant Professor, Department of English, Andhra University. Sir have been into different colleges and university as a faculty member. Dr. Solomon Benny, core member in Admissions Andhra University from 2011 to till date, head of the Department of English, and also he was served as Warden of Arts and Commerce Hostels. Sir has been published 12 research papers in national and international journals. We feel honored to have you in our midst, sir. Over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for those nice words about me. And I don't think I deserve all this honor. But still, to be with you, for having me with you this afternoon, I'm pleasured and honored. Thank you so much for giving this platform to address different people from different areas of learning. But I want to thank Dr. Gowda sir for giving me this platform. Uh, after that brief introduction, let's start as language of research. Language of research and how to write an article, a research article. That is what the topic is all about. And when we talk about language, language is an expression. Language is an expression. We can express by various means, like you and I can express language through writing and through speaking. But mostly speaking is different and writing is different. Both are two different entities of a language. Any language which has script can be written. Some languages doesn't have script; they have only the spoken format. So, language in research is a different perspective altogether. Is a different level altogether. You and I cannot use same kind, I mean, a simple kind of language for research as it is an orientation to bring a new thought, to create a new thought altogether, bring a new things to the learning for people who are in the learning arena. It's not only for the learning people in learning arena, but it is also a an article which helps someone to grow academically. Most of us are in different colleges. I think most of you are in different colleges, working and in different universities. And now UGC has come up with so many things saying that you need to have this number of articles and research articles, and if not, you're not going to be having, uh, you're not going to have any kind of growth in your academic area. But we need to understand that writing is the last skill of language in English language. For example, it's LSRW skills. L stands for listening, S stands for speaking, R stands for reading, and W stands for writing. Listening and reading are supposed to be the passive skills of the language, whereas speaking and writing are the active skills of the language. When I say active skills, we can understand the seriousness loaded to it, the seriousness given to it. Speaking and reading requires all your mind, all your focus, all your creativity in order to express what you want to in a very, very wonderful, beautiful language in language. So, speaking requires your strength, writing requires your strength and your creativity. But whereas listening and reading can be passive because sometimes we read something very passively so that we can learn. We read and we think that we have read something very wonderfully done. Now, when we talk about language and language for research, most of us, when we are writing thesis, we know when we write thesis writing is very, very essential for people who are doing research. And most of us commit little or more number of mistakes along with the typographical errors, which just come because we are not very mindful of that. We don't do proofreading and we don't put our focus on it. When it comes to English language, we most of us think that it is one of the finest language. Yes, no doubt about it, because every language is beautiful. I always believe every language is beautiful. Whether you take the native languages or the vernacular tongues that we speak, every language is beautiful. It all depends upon the user who uses it beautifully. Okay? So every language is beautiful, but let me tell you, English language is the impurest language of all languages because it has borrowed vocabulary from different languages. Majority of words that we use in English language are either borrowed from Latin, Greek, Scandinavian, okay, French, okay, French. We have Indian languages which has its uh, importance in English language. Okay, for example, let's take the word called bungalow. It is a Hindi word which has been adopted into English language. Likewise, there are many words. So I call it as most imperious language, but because there are many people using it, it has it has got the status of being a global language because many countries, many people around the world use it for the convenience of communication. For convenience of communication, because people understand you. People understand you. We all know that the most spoken language is Mandarin, which is a Chinese language. Because of the population of that particular country, maybe more people speak that language. English is not the widely spoken language, but still it stands as one of the global language because many people use it from different countries. Okay? It's like a link language between a state and a state, between a nation and nation. It's a library language. All these things, you know it. So when we talk about language of research, when you're writing research, we know that we always have different different modes of writing. Like you have introduction, you have a body, you have a conclusion. That what we do when I say body, you have many chapters in that body, and you have introduction and you have conclusion to conclude with. So body might be of many passages, no doubt about it, but I'm not going to talk about it. Let's talk about the language that you and I use in the research. And I'll talk very little about language of research, and then we'll go to how to write an article, which is very very essential for us for our professional growth. Language, most of the times, the thesis, we need to know. There are three important questions that you and I need to ask before we start: what, why, and how. Even when you write an article, it is what, how, and why. Research article, research article is not different, and thesis writing is not different. Most of them are the same. So I'll combine these two and I'll speak if you give me permission for that. Okay. Basically, we know there are many people who give statements of different things. Francis Bacon, who is known as a great essayist in English literature, he says like this, I quote, reading maketh a full man, conference a ready man, and writing an exact man. See, he says when you start reading, an individual who starts reading becomes a full man. Full man, in other words, a man with knowledge, a man with expression, a man with knowing about a particular area of learning. Take conference a ready man. We know we attend a lot of conferences as we are attending today. It could be called as a conference, a guest lecture, whatever you want to. Okay. When you want to go to a conference, people ask you to speak. So it makes you to be ready for any kind of challenges that come up. And writing an exact man. Okay. When you put across your thought, okay, when you want to write something, a letter, a memo, or anything for that matter, when you want to write something, imagine your mind should have a thought process. Your mind should have a thought process. The thought should be processed in such a fashion that you and I need to be very particular about what should we write. The first question is, what should I write? We need to answer that question to ourselves. Before writing, before you and I start to write, the first question that should go into our minds is, what should I write? Okay, what I'm going to write. What should I incorporate in my?
ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಳ್ಳಿ ಕಿತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇದಾವೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹುಣ್ಸೆಹಣ್ಣು ಹರ್ಸಕ್ ಹೋಗಿದ್ನಿ ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಅಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಸತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ ಜೊತೆ ನಾಳೆಕ್ಕೆ ಸುಜಿ ಬರ್ತಾಳೆ.
I request someone to mute your mic, please.
Sir, unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah. I did it. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It was a little disturbance.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that. Okay. Yeah. The thought went off my mind. Just give me a minute. Okay. When we start writing, we need to ask ourselves a question. We need to ask three questions. What, why, and how. When you question yourself with these three different questions, your writing will be wonderful. What should I write? What should I write? That is the first question. What should be the content? What should I incorporate into that particular writing so that it It invites readers. Most of the times, we write a lot of things, but we don't know who are the readers. Okay? We don't know how to invite those readers. When you write an article which is outstanding, when you write a thesis which is outstanding, readers are invited. Readers get attached to it. Readers put all their interest into it and they start writing and they start reading it. Okay? A writer should always think about the reader first. So when you start when you start writing an article, know for sure whom you're addressing that. Whom you're addressing that. So what should I write? What content, what ideas should I incorporate? When you start writing an article, always remember when you're writing a thesis, always remember when you're doing the research, always remember that you need to give something very new. Very new. If you give something which is plain and which is not very fresh, readers won't read it. So basically, when you start writing, always imagine that you need to give something very fresh, very creative, very new, so that people will be attracted when they read even the introduction at the start or abstract at the start. Maybe thesis does not have research thesis or a doctoral thesis might not have an abstract at the start of the thesis, but still you can make it to attract the readers with the first passage itself. Okay? What you're going to write that you need to understand first. Most of us just sit without understanding what should I write. And the second question is, why should I write? Why should I write? Am I writing for the purpose of professional growth? Then your mind and soul will not be into it. Let me tell you. If I want to be promoted in an area of work, if I'm writing the article for the purpose of my professional growth, okay, then let me tell you, it will be just for the purpose of professional growth, but not any kind of research outcome in that article. So basically, remember that why should I write should be a question that you need to ask to yourself and say that I need to write so that I can give something new to the readers, something new to the world, and then out of which something new would come out. So this is what we need to ask. And then the third question is how. This is very important. How should I write? That is what our concern is. That should be our motive is. How should I write? It's all about different different things that you and I can understand. You and I can understand. That's what today I'll talk about these three things about how we need to write. And Joseph Heller, okay, she said, every writer I know has trouble trouble writing. Joseph Heller says that whoever writers she has come to know to that point of time before she gave a statement about writing, she says that everyone had trouble in writing. Okay, we are not born with writing skills. Let me tell you that, and that's why people have put it as the last skill of the language, last skill of the language, because we grown from our childhood. See, we started imitating, we started producing sounds because language is basically a sound. When you utter a sound, it should be constructed it should be constructed in a very very wonderful manner, so that in a constructive manner, so without any grammatical error, so that it can make into a speaking piece. Okay, so when we start writing, we always find it difficult at the start because it does not start as you're born with it. You have to learn it. And writing, and any skill should be practiced. Any skill should be practiced, and writing should be practiced very seriously. So these are the things that we need to understand. And Stephen King has said that this is the last statement that I'm going to talk to you, that I'm going to tell you. I quote, the scariest moment is always just before you start. After that, things can only get better. I unquote. See, Stephen King says, the scariest moment for anyone is before you start. Many of us have starting problem. Many of us have a very starting problem. Remember, when you and I started writing exams for different grade, for different standards, you remember the first exam was so difficult for you and me. And once the first exam starts, the other exams fall into its place because you got used to it and you start writing them. That's what Stephen King says. When you're sitting down to write a thesis, when you're sitting down to write an article, the starting would be a problem. And when you start, when the starting points fall in its place and everything is perfect, then the body and the conclusion would come just like that, just like that. You're going to finish the article in such a speedy way that you don't believe yourself that you have finished writing that. So that is where scariest moment is always before you start. So the best thing that we need to do is start. The best thing that you and I can do is just start penning down thesis or articles. Once you start, everything will fall in its place. Let me tell you, everything would be wonderfully done. Most of us are afraid of starting. We tell, I have not yet started. Let's keep starting. Let's start. When an idea strikes you, when an idea strikes you, always remember, pen it down. When you're reading something, when a new thought strikes, pen it down. We are the people who never have a piece of paper and a pen in our hands. When you're reading something, an interesting article, an interesting content of your area of learning, when you start penning it down, the faculty of brain will remember it for longer period of times because it's like making a pictorial image, pictorial memory in your mind, pictorial memory. See, when you remember when you and I started learning language, our teachers in a schooling always showed some teaching learning material or audio visual aids, which we also do in a classroom learning atmosphere, okay, teaching learning area. So we need to start writing. When we start writing, what happens is that image is created into your mind. It goes into your mind and it's in your mind forever. Mind forever. So you just can recall the points and then you can do it. Okay. Am I clear? Is my voice audible? Is my voice audible? If you find
Yes, sir.
any
Yes,
kind
sir.
of a
Yes, sir.
problem, please
Yes,
let me know. Okay.
yes, sir.
Sometimes
Okay.
I have this doubt, so I will be asking. Don't mind. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So the best thing that you and I can do, okay, the best thing that you and I can do is start writing as soon as a new thought strikes. When you start thinking that what should be written, you have a faintest enough idea what you need to read, what you need to write. So what you do is when the idea strikes you, you start picking up books, you start talking to your expertise, the people in that area. You do a lot of homework in order to do that. When you're doing that, you come across a word, a new thought, start writing it down, pen it down. Just pen it down, friends. When you start penning it down, your work is easy, made easy. So the process, I'm going to talk about how we can make thesis writing or article writing excellently well. Okay. The first thing is know the assignment, know the article, research article, know the research thesis familiar. Get familiar with those things. How can we get familiar with those things? That is the most important question. See, sometimes when you start researching, your research supervisor would ask you, what is the topic that you want to work upon? That is where you and I need to understand the topic is the assignment, is called as assignment, the assignment that you're taking. Okay. So that we have to do that. Okay? We need to do that. So get familiar with the topic that you're going to write. Okay. Before taking the assignment, before taking the research, talk to yourself. Talk to yourself. Telling what I'm very good at. What I'm very good at. Okay. Okay. See, there will be certain tasks when you understand the assignment, when you know the assignment, when you know the project. You are doing a project, so understand. There are certain tasks set out for yourself. Put certain tasks for you. Okay, first thing is read it carefully. Read the assignment carefully. Understand it. Okay, when you start writing an article, when you have designed the topic of the article, when you design the heading of the article, understand that very, very precisely. Okay, if it takes for you, if it requires for you to reread it to the point of comprehension, do it. Don't think that I read it for once, I understood very perfectly. We don't understand everything when we start reading it the first time. So start reading it, rereading to the point that you have understood it very perfectly. Okay. See, try to understand the task. Set up task for you. Okay. First one is read it carefully. Looking for anything confusing, you might need to clarify with your professor, with your elders, with the experts that are there. When you're taking an assignment, first thing is understand the assignment very, very closely. Most of us does not pay much time in understanding what the project is. Not we don't understand what the article is, what the topic is, what the comprehension about the topic is all about. We just sit and start writing. But when you start doing it one step after the other, everything would be very, very perfect for you. So when you're starting an article or writing a thesis, sit with your research supervisor. Ask him if something is very, very difficult for you to understand. These people are experts for you. Okay, these people are experts for you. The first thing after you have understood the assignment is sit with the experts in that particular area. Note down what they tell you. Note down what they tell you. Listen to them. Okay? We sometimes don't listen, but listening enhances our ability. Let me tell you that. Listening perfectly without interruption, listening with all our heart, mind, and soul focused on it, you and I will understand everything. It will help us in the future. So understand. I mean, sit with them. Sit with them. If you have any doubts, clarify with them. Okay, because they're expertised in that area, they are the right people to guide you. Okay. When something you think that there is something is creating a confusion, a chaos for you, wait a moment. Take time to understand it. Take time to reread it. Okay. When you start rereading it, the whole thing will be very clear to you. The whole thing will be clear to me. Okay. I'm part of it. Get me right. Okay. So you set out this task. First is read it carefully. The first task that you have in your hand is read carefully. Okay. And before that, know your time frame. Before trying to understand reading it carefully, first thing is consider your time frame, your time limit. Okay. And then try to understand the word limit if it is for an article. For thesis, there is no word limit, but still, if you can contain it with certain word limit, it would be appreciated. It is appreciated. Okay. And another thing is be realistic. Okay. Don't write which are unreal. Okay. Which cannot be tested. Realistic things can be tested, can be examined. Things that can be examined always have a great edge. Things that can go for testing always has a great reading. So always be realistic. Plan enough time to research, write and edit. These are the things that you need to keep in mind. And then read it carefully. Read it carefully. Okay. Don't be confused when when a doubt arises in your mind. Okay. Try to get it clarified from the people who are expertised in that area, who are very close to you. When I say close, I'm not talking about having a good relationship. Having good relationship is always advised, but when I say close, within reachability of you. Okay, ask them. Ask them. They're the people who can help you. Most of the people, when it comes to research, they always extend their helping hand to anyone. So ask their help. They'll help you. Okay. Now identify the assignment goal. Know the assignment goal. Know your goal out of it. Okay. Know the deadline. Okay? No other kinds of thing like formatting and the submission method, how you need to submit it, formatting the whole article, and the goal that you have set for yourself in order to bring out a wonderful piece of writing. Okay. Okay. So when you're trying to do it, okay, when you start reading certain articles, when you start taking points from experts, note down the important points, giving numbers, giving bulleted list, or whatever is convenient for you. Okay. It might not be in a logical order. You're just taking the important points according to which you think is very important for you to incorporate into the thesis or in the research article. Give them a number. Okay. When you start, the one professor or one expert might give you 10 points. He says you need to talk about these 10 points in your thesis, talk about these 10 points in your research, in research article. So take those 10 points. It might not be in logical sequential order, okay, but just jot down every point. Okay. And another professor gives you another 15, another one gives another 5. So here we almost got 30 points, for example. For example, we got 30 points. Okay. All the points might not be logical. Get me right? All the points might not be logical, but you take them, you take them, you take them, you read it, you reread it, and then when you want to put it in the form of research article or in the form of a thesis, okay, now read it and know the sequential order of every point. Put them in sequential order. When everything is done, when your research is completely done, put them. This is what everyone should do. Your article, when you think that you have enough points, enough statements in order to build up your article, write your article, then put them in a sequential order so that it requires a connectivity between point and point, and your article is wonderful to be read. Wonderful to be read. Okay. Am I clear? Okay. And then the second one is choose the research paper topic. How can we choose a research topic is the biggest question that you and I might ask. Okay. You and I can generate an idea for a research paper. It's like sit down with a pen and paper and jot down whatever strikes your mind for the topic. The first, any research, the first point where we can attract the reader or where we can attract research from other people, where we can attract criticism or positive criticism or negative criticism is from the topic itself. So make your topic very interesting. Make your topic very interesting. Okay. So when you start choosing a research paper's topic, okay, brainstorm your mind. Do your brainstorming sessions with your mind and jot down every topic that strikes your mind. Every topic. Maybe when you sit, there might be 5 to 10 topics that come to play, come to decide, come to an option for you. Sit down, think about every topic, sit and think, think, rethink, see if you can rectify, you can make it a better topic, the title, you add some words to it, you do a lot of work on it, you put all whole of your heart into it, and then see if you can make little changes to bring it more attractive. Okay, choose the topic based on what the content would be. What the content would be. Okay, when a topic strikes, because you're the author of the research article, never think that you should only decide upon the article, title of the article. But there are other means by which you can also decide the title of the article or title of the thesis by talking with your closest friends, your fellow student, fellow researcher, or to the professors or the experts in that area so that they can chip in with some thoughts, with some ideas, so that they can use it for making your article a better one, a title a better one. So always remember that. Always remember that you need to talk with your fellow researchers, your professors, your experts in that area, and other people. Okay, at that. Okay, see when you start thinking, think think with lot of preciseness in it. Don't think vaguely. Most of us think vaguely, but let's think precisely. Precisely. Okay. Uh, have a broad topic titles, and you narrow it down. Narrow it down. You discard certain titles that have flashed your mind. Discard them. Narrow it down. Come down to 2 or 3 titles, and then finally make a choice from the 3 or from the 4 that you have chosen. And then when you're choosing the title of the article, the work has started. Okay, the work has started. Okay, the title should have a relevance to the research that you're doing. Whatever you're going to incorporate into the title should have connectivity with the title of the research paper. Okay. Now you need to talk with your fellow students, fellow researchers. Most of us don't do that. Okay, but that is discussion enables us to come to new ideas. It helps us to creativity. Research paper is nothing but a creativity. Thesis is nothing but a creativity. So you need to talk with other people of same interest, so that they will give you certain inputs, and that will help you to a greater extent. So have discussions. Okay, involved in discussions. That would help you to a greater extent. That would help you in a greater extent. So make sure that you speak with other people. Know your aim, know your goal very well. Okay, and once there is a broader concepts, narrow it down. That is very important. Okay, so the third one is okay. The third one is conduct preliminary research. After after deciding upon the title, after deciding upon the title, okay, get into research mode. What is research? Research is researching. That is what the English word is all about. Researching for something that is already there. But you give a new picture altogether. You give a new flesh to it altogether. You bring it into surface, which already exists. Okay. If we can create something new, discover something new, that's an outstanding work. But most of us, I believe, I basically, if you ask me, if Solomon can discover something, I think I fail in that area. I am not a discoverer. I cannot discover, to be very precise. I have my own weaknesses in discovering. So I cannot be a discoverer. But what I do is I try to I can do a researching on something that already exists, and then put it in a new way, which encourages people to understand, and then start using it in some way or the other, which benefits them in their career, in their area of learning, or something like that. So, first thing is we start doing preliminary research. Okay, how can we do preliminary research? Is reading. Reading is the best thing. Reading articles, reading books, reading many things that talks about the topic that you've chosen to write an article upon. Okay, article upon. Okay, journals, websites, books. Okay, now the variety of resources that you and I have is unlimited. It's not like before. If you remember in 80s, 1980s, 1990s, if I'm not wrong, resources were very limited. Sources were very limited. So what happened? We always need to have a textbook in our hand to produce a new research altogether. But now we are blessed with different sources which you and I can explore, like internet libraries. We have ebooks, we have e-journals, we have websites, we have people who are writing so many things in the web, and so we can read whatever you and I love to read. Love to read. So that is what the most important essential thing. Okay. So friends, okay, I call you friends. Let's understand that preliminary research is all about doing knowing different sources, different resources, so that you can you and I can explore new areas to know new thoughts, new areas, explore new areas so that you and I can really work upon our work so that we can bring newness to whatever we are working upon. Working upon. Friends, most of us might not be doing it. Preliminary research, if you are doing it, wonderfully well, wonderfully well. We appreciate that. You and I would appreciate that. But we need to understand we have many things to do with. Okay? It's also for our benefit. Excuse me. Okay. So look out for sources. Look out for sources. Okay. There are many things available in the market. You and I can buy. When you and I buy, we own it and we can use it at any point of time. Okay. And then always remember, always remember that when we do a preliminary research, we might not be able to know or come to a conclusions. We even still brainstorm brainstorm in our minds whether everything is complete or not. So preliminary research is not the final research. Okay, you need to do researching again and again, again and again. Okay, when you start thinking about the article in your mind, there would be positive minds striking your mind, and there would be negative minds coming into your mind. See, when you need to answer the questions that come into your mind. If the positive points come into your mind, good, pen it down. If negative points come into your mind, try to find an answer for that in your researching. Okay? Certain negative points certainly flash our minds. Negative things about that topic. They certainly flash in our minds. What should I do? Okay, if a negative thought comes to mind, I should look out for sources which might give an answer for that particular negative point. If I could not find a valid answer for the negative question that is pondering my mind, without an answer, don't express that negative answer in your research article or in your research thesis. It is better you overlook that question. And if the question is so conscious in your mind, and you think that you need to get an answer for that, if not your article, if not your thesis would be incomplete, then then you need to ponder upon that point for more time, for more time, till you find an answer for that. Okay, but most of them get stuck there. Don't get stuck when you're writing an article, when you're writing a research thesis, because if you're just stuck with one point, the time is lost. You and I should know the time frame. We have set the time frame at the start. So try to finish your article within the time frame. If you can't do that, you and I have succeeded to a greater extent if we can finish within the time frame that we have set for ourselves, because it is very essential, very essential. Okay. So ponder upon your mind about the negative points that come your mind, and uh, and then try to get an answer for it. When you get an answer for it, you go ahead and start writing your thesis or an article. Okay. Most importantly, the first and foremost thing that you and I need to understand is develop a thesis statement. What is this thesis statement? That is an important question that you and I need to ask. A thesis statement is a statement of your central argument. You and I argue. In research, argument is a common thing. We argue. We argue. Why do we argue? In order to come to an opinion. To come to an opinion. So it's an argument. Thesis is an argument. So a thesis statement is a statement of your central argument. What we call is the central theme. Okay, the central theme. Let me put that way. It makes it makes easy for you to understand. Central argument or thesis statement is the central theme of your thesis or your research article. Okay, your central argument establishes the purpose and position of your paper. I told you, why am I writing? That is what the purpose of your writing. When you ask the question, why am I writing this research article? Why am I writing this thesis? It is the purpose that you have put for yourself to write that. I told you at the start, if your purpose is only, if you think the purpose is only for your professional development, you and I will not make an outstanding work. But if you and I think that it's just not professional growth, but it is a passion for you. It's a passion which is pushing you to write a research article. Then you would follow all these things, and you in turn you bring out a wonderful thesis statement. Not only thesis statement, the purpose. You know the purpose very clear. You know what you're supposed to write, and you write a very wonderful piece of writing which is beneficial for everyone in that particular area of learning. Okay. So know the purpose. Know the purpose. When you know the purpose, thesis statement is easy. Okay. Thesis statement makes you to tells you makes you to recall what's the purpose and your position of your paper. Okay. Okay. Always, always start. Most of us start with a research question. It might not be penned down in your thesis. It might not be penned down in your research article, but a research question always ponders in your mind, always lives round in your mind. So, thesis statement is a statement which answers that particular research question. Okay. When you're doing that research, when you're doing that thesis statement, okay, it should have evidence. It should have evidence. When you have evidence for that, you have reasons to support your points, then you have a perfect learning. Most of the times, you don't have evidence to put across the proofs as proofs for your question, and you don't reason it out. We need to reason it out. Why do we reason it out? You support that particular thesis statement. You get me? Okay, thesis statement. And remember, thesis statement should be concise. How long the thesis statement should be? It should be concise, simple, well constructed, and it should have connectivity, coherent connectivity. Language should have connectivity. Okay. Okay. Language should have connectivity, and thesis statement should be simple. Don't create a confused thesis statement. Let your thesis statement be as simple as possible. When you get this research article or thesis printed and it goes into the market and people start picking them up from the libraries or from the bookstores, remember that we have different kinds of people who would be reading it. One is people who understand it easily, people who averagely understands, and we have people with slow understanding. When you write the thesis, if you want to evoke interest in the reader, make your thesis statement as simple as possible, because even the slow people who understand slowly will also understand it and show interest in reading it. Okay. First thing is, when you write an article, when you write a thesis, it's the first thing is you need to attract the audience. Without attracting the audience, nothing is absolute. You get me? Okay. And then, okay, uh, always summarize it. Okay, summarize it. Okay, and then if you have written the thesis statement for the first time for a particular article, What you do is you have to sit with it and check it out so that if there is anything that you can revise and refine, you can do it. You can do a lot of revising it. You can do it revising the thesis statement. Remember, thesis statement is the central standing of your thesis. Around the thesis statement, every other thought is connected. So thesis statement is the very important aspect either in your thesis, research thesis, or in your research article. Okay, so refine the thesis statement if there is a necessity for refinement. Okay, so it will help you for adding new thoughts, new ideas to that particular research article. Okay, and then after having thesis statement, after everything is done, write your research paper. Write down the outline of your research paper. What is the outline? It's not exactly a research paper. It's just what are the important topics you need to cover. Pen down, make a list of key topics, okay, key arguments, or evidences that you have collected in order to support your writing. Okay? Support your writing. All these things you need to do it. You need to do it. Okay. So have a rough draft. Write every important topics, list of key topics, list of arguments, list of evidences that you need to support your writing. And then start dividing it into different sections with side headings. Okay, with side headings. Okay, in different areas. So that would help you. That would help you. Okay, roughly, this is just a kind of rough draft. It is not the final thing. So create a research paper outline and you start working towards it. Okay, and then when you start your actual research work, the first draft of your research work, what you do is you have a blueprint, and that blueprint is nothing but research paper outline. Hope you understand what I'm trying to tell you. The rough work that you have done, the rough draft that you have done, would as a act as a that would act as a plan or a blueprint for your writing. So whatever you create in your research paper outline is the final step for you to go for the first draft of writing a research article or a research thesis. So writing research paper outline is very, very important. Most of us, we don't do that. We don't do that. But once you start doing it, your first draft of writing becomes easier. You get me? So that's what we need to do. Okay? And then we have seen 5 points. Let me repeat those things. Understand the assignment that is given. Choose a research paper topic. Okay, and then conduct preliminary research. Develop a thesis statement. And 5 is create a research paper outline. Okay, we have done a great work till now. Okay, and now you might ask me a question: how much time we need to spend for these points? It all depends how best you want to bring out a research paper. If you just want to write it for the purpose of professional growth, you just need just 1 day. Okay. If your passion is to bring a new research altogether, a new development altogether, it might take months together, years together. Okay. So that is what always, you see, a paper which is properly done with taking all care would bring out an excellent output. And that might take a lot of time. That might take a lot of time. If it's just few minutes, you can get it done in just few minutes. You get me? So that is the big difference between the two. It's all in your hands how much time you need to spend in order to create a research paper outline and all other 4 points that I have talked about. Okay. Now the 6th point. Okay. We have almost 11 points. We almost done 6. So another 5 points, which We'll see. Okay. Then sixth point is after creating a research paper outline. Now, research paper outline is nothing but the skeleton. Okay? We can call it as a skeleton. Okay? Because you have arguments, you have key points, you have sections by giving headings to it. It's just the skeleton. The research paper outline is just a skeleton. And skeleton is very important for any research, for any discovery to happen. So that is the skeleton. And now the next point is write a first draft of the research paper. First draft is not perfect, would not be perfect, but let me tell you, you are adding flesh to the skeleton that is always there when you have done the research paper outline. Okay? Research paper outline. Okay? Know it perfectly. Know it perfectly. Okay? So skeleton is there, you need to add flesh to it. Okay? And adding flesh is nothing but putting it in a very constructive language, constructive language, without any grammatical errors, without any mistakes, so that your reading will be read. Okay, your first draft would never be perfect. Let me tell you that. You can polish it later. You can make it fine later, but having a content in order to have the research paper done, you need to start with first draft only. It could be a rough draft, but don't mind, rough draft can be refined, rough draft can be corrected. But at least we have come to the stage of rough draft, and from there, going into refining it becomes easy. Having a skeleton and adding flesh is what is very important. So adding flesh is the first draft of your writing. So this first adding flesh into the skeleton can be not very perfect, but you can refine it. You can do a surgery later, and you can rectify the things that you have done wrong while adding the flesh to the skeleton. Hope you understand what I'm trying to tell you. So it is nothing but starting doing. It's start doing. Okay. So now you have written a lot of things from the start. I told you it might not be in a logical sequential order. So start looking at the points that you have written, and then put them into logical order, into a sequential order, because every thought should follow the next thought. Okay. So there should be a connectivity between the first thought and the second thought. Okay. If there is no connectivity between the first thought and the second thought and the third thought, and you have connectivity only with the first and the 10th point, then the center point of the thought is lost. So connectivity would not be there. So the first point should have connectivity with second. The first two should have connectivity with the third. The first three should have connectivity with the fourth. Something like that. Every point from 1 to 10 or 1 to 20 or 1 to 30 that you're writing down in a research thesis or in a research article should have connectivity from the first point to the last point in the conclusion. If there is no connectivity, the thesis is lost. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir, you are audible.
Okay, okay. My video has got stagnated, so I just chatted out. Okay.
Okay.
So,
No, sir.
so if there is any problem, please tell me if you don't mind.
Sure, sir, sure.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
sir.
Okay. Now, when we look into this, that you need to add flesh to the skeleton, and sometimes what we add as a skeleton flesh might not be perfect. So you can rectify it. Don't mind even if you put something that is not in line with what you're trying to do, but fill that places. Start filling that places. Okay. Okay. Now you have an idea. It might not be very clear, but take time to clear the ideas. You have clarity in your ideas that you can do. Okay. Pay attention to organizing the ideas that you have, logically, sequentially ordering of sentences and paragraphs. Okay. So that your second draft would become easy. Okay. And then whatever ideas you have, express your ideas as clearly as possible. Some people, in order to express their ideas, They use lot of bombarding language vocabulary. Let me tell you, when we are reading something, you and I might have faced this problem from long time. When we come across a new word altogether for which the meaning is not known to you and me, our mind will pause for a minute there. So never write difficult word which you think understanding is difficult. Use a simpler word. Use a simple language, simple word for it, so that they will learn it. They will learn it. Someone who reads it will not have a break in understanding, but the understanding is continuous and understanding goes on so that reading becomes interesting. Okay. So express your ideas as clearly as possible with simple language and then try to put it in a logical and sequential order so that people will not find or will not be confused or will not find chaos in it in understanding them. So first draft should be to that extent, but there are other things to do with. Okay. Sometimes we always think that when I say logical, we always think that writing an article, writing a thesis should start with introduction. Introduction. No, there is no necessity. There is no hard rule to say that you need to start your research article or a research thesis by writing only introduction. You get me? Nothing like that. You can start with anything. You can start with anything. You can even start with writing a conclusion. You get me? But we don't do that. Conclusion is to be at the end. So unless and until you don't finish all the body of the writing, you cannot do the conclusion. Okay. But what I mean to say is, if you want to write apart from introduction, other sections of the thesis or other sections of your research article, do it. Whatever strikes you first, do it. Do it. Don't think that you need to write only introduction. Introduction is nothing but giving an introduction about your topic to the reader, not to you, not to you. Okay, not to you. Okay. So never think that you need to start writing with an introduction. If you're starting to write with the first chapter is introduction, or part of the body is introduction, and you can start with the second part of the body also. Okay? That way you can start writing. I told you at the start, most of the people have a problem in starting to write. Let's overcome it. Start with whatever your mind flashes with. Okay, do that. Okay, begin where you feel comfortable with, where you feel most natural for you. Okay, if see, we have areas where we are very expertised in. If you think that that particular topic is there and you're very expertised in it, write that body first. It might not be the introduction. It might not be the introduction. It might not be the abstract altogether. Okay. And then it is nothing but start with the easiest thing that you think that you can start writing with. Easiest one. Most of us don't do that. Easiest one. Okay. When you start with easiest one, the flow of thought will start to happen. Okay. The difficult things would come because you already started. The flow of continuity goes on. There will be a continuity. Flow of thought will go. Flow of thought will come to your mind. And that's how you can start doing it. Okay. You can start doing it. So do that first. Start with the easiest thing. It might be the third chapter. It might be the fourth chapter. It might be the fourth paragraph or fifth paragraph of your research article. Never mind. Okay. As you finish writing the half of the body of your research article, then you can go for the first part of your research article, like introduction and the first two paragraphs of your research article. You can do that. Start from where you find it easy. Don't wait for the first introduction to come. Start which is easy for you. Start with where you are very comfortable with. That would enhance your writing ability. Writing ability. Okay. See, so that is one thing that you need to do. And never delete any section you think that you find is unnecessary when you're doing first draft and second draft. When you're doing the second draft, not the first draft, because first draft is just a rough work that you have done. In the second draft, don't ever delete any content that you think is not necessary. Mark it, that it is not that necessary. Or underline them, which are not necessary for you. And then when you're almost done and your final draft is almost ready, okay, then you go and see if that particular unnecessary points fit into your writing or not. If you think that does not fit into the continuity of what you're writing, then remove it. Otherwise, we don't know what is necessary for us. That idea might strike us again at that point of time, and you might have forgotten because you have deleted it in the second draft itself. So keep it aside. Or if you think that that is disturbing the continuity, copy it or cut it and paste it somewhere else, giving a number and giving an instruction at that to that point that it has been deleted, it has been taken from so and so point, and it has to fit into that, something like that, and then you can start doing it. But don't delete it completely. You can set a other page altogether, other file altogether, and take all these points there, okay, giving numbers to that points and keeping it there, preserving it, so that if you think that it can be brought back to some other writing in that particular topic, you can do that. Am I clear? Okay, paragraphs are the basic building blocks of research paper. So we need to understand that paragraphs should be well structured grammatically. Paragraphs are very, very important. You don't write a single paragraph, there are many, many paragraphs. Okay. Now, the first thing is after the body is ready, everything is ready, then you can start refining your introduction. Write the introduction. Go into the introduction. Okay. Introduction should address the questions. No, the research paper introduction should address the thesis statement question, the question on which you have written your thesis statement. Okay. After finishing the introduction, the research reader who wants to read it should know what the paper is about. The reader should know what the paper is about. And he will come to a conclusion whether it is worth reading or not. Okay. Okay. When someone starts reading the introduction, he will come to a conclusion whether it is worth reading or not. If the introduction is not exciting, if the introduction is not excellently built, if the introduction does not attract the attention of the reader would not waste time in reading the whole other part of what the research article is all about. So make your introduction more interesting, more profound in nature, so that it creates an interest in the reader, so that he will go to the next part of the content, or next part of the body of the thesis or body of the research article, and start reading it quite interestingly. It's all about building your arguments in the introduction, connecting your arguments in the introduction, so that people would have interest when they see the introduction or read the introduction for the first time itself. Okay, am I clear? Okay, and then the next one is writing the body. Any writing I told you will have introduction, body, and then conclusion. Okay, how important introduction is, body is also that important. Okay, introduction just gives an introduction of what the body is going to be and what the conclusion would be. Okay, but the basis, or I told you, the skeleton of the whole thesis lies in the body. The skeleton of your research lies in the body. So never neglect the body. Introduction comes out of the body. Conclusion comes out of the body. Introduction and conclusions are not a separate entity from the body. Body is built upon introduction, and introduction and conclusion are built from the body. So It is very important that you need to know what the body should be. Body is the center of your argument. Your thesis statement would reflect in your body of your writing. So know very clear what is exactly the body of the text, body of your research paper, body of your thesis. If you're not very clear about what the body of your writing is all about, then you have missed out the research article, the beauty of the research article. Hope you understand. So the research article thesis statement would reflect in the body, and there are other ideas which are very important, which can fall in place with the topic sentence. Okay, it can fall in the topic sentence. That way, you can know the similarities between the thoughts around this thesis statement, and then when you find similarities, arrange them in sequential order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, like that. And see, you don't give numbers to the points, but you bring connectivity to the supporting points that would make the thesis statement stronger. You get me? You need to uh, logically arrange, put it in logical order so that reading becomes easier. Okay, okay, and then each sentence should have a connectivity with the topic sentence. As I told you, topic sentence is the central argument, and all other points would come out of this thesis statement. If the thesis statement is not clear, the supporting arguments and the supporting points would also not be very good. So the thesis statement should be perfect by all means. When it is very perfect, friends, the supporting points that emerge out of the thesis statement would also be outstanding, also be wonderful. And each one falls in line with the other. Each one will fall in line with the other. So there is connectivity. The paper would come out wonderfully done. Wonderfully done. And then the ninth one is write the conclusion. Conclusion, I told you, comes out of introduction as well as body of your writing. Okay? So that is very, very important. It's like general consequences of the argument. Okay? You're going to discuss in the conclusion what the outcome of your arguments are. You're supporting your arguments. Okay? And then you give essential information about your arguments in conclusion. Okay? You should use different kinds of writing. Okay? You can take more space for your conclusion. Our conclusion could be bigger than what your introduction is all about. Nothing wrong in it. Okay? But conclusion should always give what what is the final outcome of your arguments that you have done in the body of the research paper. Okay? And then after everything is done, then you go for the second draft. And second draft, you go by rearranging your ideas, rearranging your ideas, reading everything and identifying what is not important. And I told you at the start, keep the points which you think are not necessary aside. Now, in the second draft, you have time whether those points can fit in somewhere in the body. Look out if it fits into the somewhere in the body. Bring those points and put them there. If you think that that does not substantiate what you're writing and it is not necessary at all, delete them. You don't need them again. Okay. And then you try to rearrange all your ideas in a sequential order so that there is continuity of thought. Every writing should have a continuity of thought. And then the 11th one is the revision process. Okay. You need to revise your paper. How? Do a proofreading. Look out for typographical errors. Try to rectify any spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes, okay, punctuation, wrong punctuation marks, okay, language wise, wrong things, everything you need to do. Okay, everything should be well articulated as possible. Okay, and when you have done writing everything, look at your paper and see that you have given enough proofs and evidences for your argument that you are specifying in your article. If you aren't doing it, try to do that. Okay, and check out whether you logically organized every thought that has come to your mind, and there is a logical flow of paragraphs of one after the other. Okay, okay. Now check out your introduction, your body, and your conclusion with the thesis statement that you have mentioned. If something is not related with your thesis statement, delete it. It should have connectivity. I told you that the supporting points to your thesis statement would emerge out from the thesis statement alone. If some point does not emerge out from the thesis statement, that points are unnecessary. So know it very carefully. Don't write unnecessary points so that reading becomes a kind of big burden on the reader. Okay, pardon the reader. So check out for typographical errors, grammatical errors, formatting, sentence construction. Okay, typos. Okay, everything. Inconsistency in writing. Like somewhere you write DON apostrophe D, that is not accepted. It should be do not, complete words. Short forms are not needed. See, when you do short forms, acronyms, okay, when you do acronyms, what you need to mention it at the start of the page. For example, okay, like something like a short DR. For example, DR stands for doctor. If I write DR in the thesis, I need to mention it at somewhere all the short forms that I mentioned in the paper. Okay? These are the technical issues. So you need to know the technical aspects of writing a paper, and then see that everything is properly formatted, the spellings are right, grammatically everything is done, and formatting is so good. And see to it that you give citations, that you give bibliography, works referred, okay, books that you have read in order to make this article come out, and everything that you have done in order to make your research work done. Okay, am I clear? Am I clear? I conclude. So that is what research article writing and research thesis article, research thesis writing. The platform is open for questions. If you have time for questions, I appreciate the questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Solomon Benny, sir, for your fruitful information. Dear audience, it's time to raise your questions. Please unmute yourself and ask your questions. I think there is no question, sir.
Sir, if there is no questions, I think I can say that I can come to a conclusion that you understood well, or you did not understand anything. What my influence should be? Anyway, if you don't have any questions, I think you are expertised in this area. So thank you so much, sir, for the platform that you've given to me, Gowda sir, Dr. Gowda sir, and someone who is hosting me. Okay, understood. Thank you, Krupa ma'am. Thank you, Krupa ma'am. Yeah. So I leave the space to the person who is hosting me. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
On behalf of ICSSR capacity building program.
Yeah. You can.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just wait, na. Wait for the questions, na.
No, sir. Yeah, okay, sir. Okay, sir.
There is no question, no?
No, sir, there is no questions.
Then we can wind up now. Sir, thank you, sir. Solomon, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for the
It's very
platform
nice,
that
sir.
you
It's very
gave me.
nice. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Then we will wind up.
Yes, sir. On behalf of ICSSR Capacity Building Program, Department of Economics in Studies, as well as Research Scholar Forum, I am very grateful and thankful to you, sir. You took the time out of your busy schedule to address the workshop. Thank you, sir. I am
Thank you so
thankful
much.
to all participants for your presence. The next session will start tomorrow shortly at 10 a.m. Please join on time. Thank you. Thank you, Nandal.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone for patient listening.